right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. I hope you guys are doing well. All right, let's see what we can do today. So yesterday we went over some Z values. Is that right? Okay, now remember, generally speaking, we're looking at what's called relative position. Now, what does relative position really mean? Right? If somebody says to you, hey, what are you studying at the moment in your statistics class? You can say things like, oh, relative position. What does that mean? How do you guys want to think of that? What does that mean? What do you guys think? Relative position. It's essentially, where are you in relation to who? Everyone else. Okay? Position related to others. Relative position. So, and there's actually various measures. Like we looked at the Z value yesterday. Today we're going to look at some more. We're going to look at what's called a percentile. So let's get this marker out. We'll give you the definition, of what a percentile of a data value is and kind of think and feel what that means. Percentile of some data value X, right? So if we look at that word percentile of a data value, where do you think that word comes from? Where do you guys think the word percentile of a data value really comes from? Yeah, thank you. It's a percent, right? So if we think about this, you say, okay, percent, yeah. So this is the definition. This is what you use, right? It's going to be the number of what? Data values. That's less than X. Less than, yes. Divided by N, what was N? Do you guys remember? What's N? Sample size, good, times 100. And then we're going to approx to a whole number. So what I want you guys to do, bless you, is to know what you're really going to do up here is this. You're going to count number of data values that are really what? Less than? Do you guys happen to know what the meaning of less than is? What does less than mean? Smaller than? Smaller than what? Some data value, number of data values smaller than X, divided by N times 100. So this is going to be, ladies and gentlemen, how we go about this. Okay? All right, you guys okay with that one? All right, so let me do something else now. I'm going to say here, let's go to my website. You're not 241 yet. You will be 227. And then I have a worksheet. It's called test score data here. This worksheet. Now remember, we already did this, use this data list to compute some Z values. We did that, sort of did that. We did that for grading on a curve. We did a different example for the Z values. Different. So this is again, you did the information on the left, and then I'm going to share with you guys, what do you guys see on the right now? You guys see, it's something, you see an L there? Anybody see an L up there? Okay, that's going to have some meaning for us. Let me scroll in. And then to the right, what do you see? What is that column called in gray? That's like the sorted test scores. What do you think sorted test scores mean, sorted test scores? What do you think that actually means? Well, they're sorted how? Smallest to what? Largest. Does that make some sense? So if we look at that and then you go, okay. So in other words, the first data value, the smallest was a 0. What's the next smallest? 5. And then the next smallest, 10. And it went all the way up to what? Ooh, the largest is 150. There's multiple people got 150. 3 people did. What's the 48 mean? What do you think 48 means there in the locator, in the L value or the L column? What do you think that means? If I asked you how many data values are in this list? 48, good. It's a sample size. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now is this. We're going to ask you guys the following questions. What is the percentile of the data score 90? Remember, 90 is a data value. What's the percentile of that value here? What I'm really saying is you're going to need to use this definition here. Okay, so what's the definition? What do you guys have to do? How do you get that numerator? Right, what does it say? It's the what? The number of data values that are less than what number in this example? 90. So how many data scores are smaller or behind the 90, right? So we're going to have to go to the list and we're going to have to look at the list and find where 90 is. I can see 90, but I want you guys to tell me, looking at this list, how many data scores are less than 90? Remember, less than means strictly smaller than. Is that true? So what would you guys say? 23 data values? Is that right? Good. How many data scores are here again? 48. Isn't that the sample size? So notice you're using the definition. Is that true? Percentile with the data value X. And then multiply it times 100. So now you get out your TI calculator. The TI is waking up. We're going to clear this out. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to put a parentheses, 23. See if you guys can see that. Yeah, 23 divided by 48. Close that and multiply times what? 100. What do you end up with? What is that going to be? What does the whole number mean? If they say approximate this to the nearest whole number, what do you think that means? Huh? Right, it's going to be, look at the ones position. It's a 7. The digit to the right's a what? What's the digit to the right? A 9? Is that right? So what does that mean? What's the answer? This is going to be 40. What is it going to be? 48? Okay. So let's write down what this means. This means you get the 48th percentile. Okay? So you might say, what do we just find? What does that 48 percentile mean? What this means is 48% of the data, right, is what? Less than, behind the score 90. That's what this means. Okay, this is what this means. 48% of the data is behind the score 90. So if you scored 90 on that test, what does that mean? 48% of the class was behind your score. This gives you what we call relative what? Position. Not relative frequency, relative position. This is going to be a relative position. This is called percentile. So it gives your location in relation to who? Everybody else. Okay? You guys okay with that? All right, let's ask you this question here. What is a percentile of the data score 105? Okay, what do you have to do to answer this question again? You're going to use the definition. This time you have to count what? Scores that are what? Less than 105. Good. So we're going to look for 105. It's there. Tell me, ladies and gentlemen, how many scores are actually less than 105? 29. Outstanding. Okay, good. 29 out of how many data values? 48. Now times 100. What does this give you? Parentheses. 29 divided by what? 48 times what? 100. What does that give you? So the whole number, isn't that 60? So what does that mean? The answer is this is the 60th what? Percentile. So if I said to you, okay, what is the meaning behind that 60th percentile? What do you guys want to know? That means what? 60% of the data is what? Less than what score? 105. Okay? 60% of the data is less than 105. Okay, what is that? What do you guys think? Is that easy? What do you need to know? You need to know your what? Definitions. What about this question? What is the percentile of the data score 120? How do you guys use that definition again? Right? You're going to use this definition. You're going to have to what? Count. So you're going to say, okay, where's my 120? 120? How many scores are less than 120? So you're going to go back up here. And we probably can't see that. So, okay, there we go. So what do you guys think? How many scores are less than 120? Good. 37 out of how many scores? 48. So 37 over 48 now times 100, you're going to get what? 37 divided by 48, close that, times 100. What do you get now? Is that 77%? So the answer is really the 77th what? Percentile. So you guys know. So you also want to know here that percentiles, that means 77% of the test scores of the data is less than what number? 120. Okay? That's behind that number. Okay. All right. Hold on here. I'm going to ask you guys here another question. What is the percentile of the data score 135? Okay. And of course, what do you guys need? You guys are going to have to look at this worksheet, right? So take a look. So what's this going to be? Okay, let's write this down. How many scores are less than 135? How many? It's right in front of you. What is it? 41 out of how many? 48 times 100. Is that true? Okay, so now let's put that in the TI. Parentheses 41 divided by what? 48 times 100. And so what would you guys say? Is that 85? Okay, what does that mean? Yeah, this is the 85th percentile, which means 85% of the scores are behind that 135. Okay, and that's what this means. So, ladies and gentlemen, this gives you an idea of relative what? Position. Is that true? Right? You guys know what I'm saying? So 85%. So if you scored a 135, you could go home and tell everybody, hey, 85% of the class was behind my score. By the way, isn't that for the standard scale, isn't that the smallest value? Smallest data value? I'm sorry, isn't that an A? 135 to 150 was an A, is that right? So you're saying 85% of the class really was behind the lowest point for an A. Similarly here, this is for the B grade. Remember 120? 77% of the class was behind that B grade. And then over here, you're saying this is for the C grade. 60% of the class was behind a C. So stop and think about this idea of 60% being behind. What does that even imply? That 40%, right? The complement of that, 40% is at least a C. So I can look at this relative position idea and say, yeah, even though a test score of 105 says 60% were behind that, Well, that means about 40% were at least that score higher. So, 40% of the class at least got a C, because that's where the C grade is, 105. Okay, does that make some sense to you guys? It all comes down to what? Your definition. Now, I'm going to give you guys a small remark here about definitions. You got to be careful, because sometimes people don't like definitions. You go, what do you mean? Yeah, people they look at a definition and they think, no, I just don't like it, so I'm not going to learn it. It's think of a definition as a label. Like if I asked you, what's your name? And you said, hey, my name's Barbara. And I said, no, you look more like a Nancy. Do I have any right to change Barbara's label, her name? No. You have to accept the name. Is that true? So this is the name of what? Percentile, right? So you don't have any right to change it, if that makes any sense to you guys. All right? Okay, you guys okay with that? Now, maybe you said, okay, I looked at the worksheets here and homework, and how do you think, if they asked you this kind of question on the homework, they may say, okay, here's a homework question, right? From that, worksheet I assigned yesterday, you'll get more today. They said, okay, maybe you gathered data with how many pets do you have, right? And then, they give you data values. You say, okay, 2, 4, 3, 0, 2, 1, 5, 3, 4, 0, 6, and 8, and then maybe another 4, and then maybe a 3. Okay? And then they say to you this question here. What is the percentile of the data value maybe 4? Okay? Because this is what's going to happen. Okay? What I gave you was very nice. You say, boy, that Mr. Judge, he looked at an example like this. That's really sweet and nice. Is that right? Because why is that sweet and nice? What did they do? They sorted your data for you guys. Is that right? So you go, oh my God, that Mr. Judge, he gave it to us nice and sorted. But then I look at my homework question, and then they give me this. These are all my data values. And what do you guys notice about these data values? They're not even what? Sorted. You might say, how mean they're not sorted. What would you guys do then? You can sort your data. What does sorting mean? Arrange from smallest to largest. So you can sort it. Could you sort it by hand? Yes. Could you sort it by TI calculator? Of course. Yes. So what do? You make a choice. But you're going to remember how to do what then? You say, what do I do? Well, I mean, you can go to what? Stat, edit. Remember that? Oh, look. Go to the title. Clear this out. Now go back down. Now I'm ready to do what? I'm ready to enter my data so I can sort it. Is that true? Okay. So go back and do what? Enter all those data values, but be careful as you enter them, you may want to cancel them, right? So here you go. So, I mean, you have a choice. 2, 4, 3, 0. And you say, well, I can't see all the details. Okay, let's scroll out. Okay. 2, 1, 5, 3, 4, 0, 6, 8, 4, and 3. Okay? So I entered all the data. So I'm just going to go through this here. Now, how do we sort this? Do you guys remember? You go to what? Stat. Scroll down to number what? 2. What does that do? You press enter, but you have to name the list. Do you know the name of the list? Yeah, it's L1. Is that true? So you got to go to blue and 1 because, ladies and gentlemen, that's where L1 is, right? You say, I don't believe you. Well, there it is. And then hit what? Hit the parentheses to close that. And now you hit enter. And what does it say to you when you did that? It says you're done. What do you think it's done doing? Sorting. So if I were you, I'd spend some time on that homework the night before. Does anybody do that game plan? You study the night before and you realize, I forgot how to do everything. Oh, man. You guys know what I'm saying? Well, what I'm really saying is, when do you want to really get to this? Today, now, is what you do. It means everything. Okay? So you get to review it, and then you say, okay, what was that? What was that deal? We got to go back to the list. So I go to Stat, Edit. Why am I going back to this list? Because now the list is what? Sorted. What was the question? What is the percentile of the data value number what? 4. Is that right? Is that true? So I'm going to go all the way down to the one prior. What does that mean? You see the list? You guys see that number and the list, how it changes? Right? That's going to be what? Go to the 3. That tells me there's 8 data values. Is that true? There's 8 data values that are less than 4. I'm sorry it didn't give you a nicer, clearer thing, but it's there. You got to spend some time with your calculator. You want to establish a relationship with who? Your calculator. Anybody here an expert on relationships? Who's a relationship person? Anybody here in the room that people go to and get some advice from you on relationships? What do you tell them? Don't do it. That's probably the smartest answer you can ever give. Don't even bother. Don't bother. I would say, in all honesty, but some of us, we're just suckers. We got to be in a relationship. We're suckers. Here's what I'm going to say. If you want love, what do you got to do? You got to give love. That's something people don't understand. You want love, you got to give love. If you want math to love you, you're going to need to give love to it. You got to establish a relationship with your what? Calculator. If you hate it and you hate your calculator and you don't want a relationship, nothing to do with it, guess what? It's going to hate you right back. And that's just how it works. I hate to put it in those terms, but that's how I kind of see it. So, you're going to have to sort some data, and then you're going to scroll all the way down here, and you go, oh, I wonder what this, oh, sorry. Let's go to the last data value. How many data values did we have? What was the last one? Wasn't it an 8? There's only 1. So I'm establishing a relationship with my TI calculator because on a test, I'm going to need it. What's the meaning of that 14? 14 data. It's the sample size. Outstanding. You guys understand. You're going to be relationship experts. So then by the definition, I have 8 over 14 times 100. Is that right? All right. And I got to go back to my TI and you go, okay, parentheses, 8 divided by 14, close that, times what? 100. And what did you guys get? What is this? 57 to the nearest whole number. So what's the answer? 57th what? Percentile. And so this is the answer they're seeking. They want you to know that, hey, 57% of the data is behind the number 4. But more importantly, I would say, what does it mean? 57% of the data is less than what? Is less than 4. So it gives you an idea of relative position, 57%. Okay? So we care about relative position a lot. We care about where things are in relation to others. Now, this is kind of problematic, so I have to transition here. Or, you know, what we could do, we could give you guys another what? Example, so you can use your definition and calculator. But I'm going to have you guys try this one. I'm going to change that on you. I'm going to say this to you guys. Here's another question. If we'd go with a sleep. Should we do sleep again? How many hours of sleep did you get last night? Because this is going to be, again, how they ask you homework questions. How many hours of sleep did you get last night? Somebody says 4. Or someone says what? 6. Oh, 2. Anybody else? Who has no sleep? Sometimes. Oh, somebody had 1 hour. 2, 3, 8. Anybody get 10 hours? No. 9, 6, 2, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 7. Whew. Of course, they're going to say, what is the percentile of, how about 6? Okay. The percentile of the score or the data value 6. I'm going to say you got a choice. You can sort it by hand. There's no law that says you can't do that. Or you can sort it by TI. Okay? So I'll give you guys some time here. Try this out. See what you get. And of course, we will go over it. But you guys try this. Okay, anybody get an answer? Did you guys get an answer? What is it? Is it in the 50th percentile? 53rd. Okay, I don't know. You know what? Let's try this out. Let's sort this. I don't know. You want to sort it by hand? You want to try it by hand instead of by calculator? That way you have an example of both? Okay. Okay. Sort it by hand, ladies and gentlemen. 0, What's the next? There's no more zeros. Okay, then a what? A 1. Notice how I'm scanning through. Okay. And then what? How many 2s? Okay, 3 2s. Okay, and then a what? How many 4s? 1, 2. Oh, I forgot. Oh, sorry. Should have done the calculator. 1. Is there 1 3? Okay. How many 4s? 1, 2 4s. Okay. How many 5s? 1 5. Okay. How many 6s? Oh, do I even care? Do I care? Do I care to count the 6s? Okay. Maybe, I don't, but let's do this here. How many 6s anyway? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then how many 7s? 1 7. Okay. And then a what? 1 8. Okay. How many 9s? 2 9s. And then 1 10. So the number of data values less than 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, what? 9. So that's 9 data values out of how many? Well, if this is 9, doesn't that make this 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18? Is it 18? Ooh, you guys are right. 9 over 18. Isn't that 1/2? And what's 1/2 of 100? 50. So you guys are right. This is the 50th what? Percentile. So that means, and that's an important percentile. What do we mean by that? That means 50% of the data is where? Is behind 6. Okay? So this is doing it by hand, and we've seen how to do that by TI. So I don't know. You pick your poison. Maybe you do it by hand. Maybe you do it by TI. Maybe you do it both. Maybe you want to do it both. You gotta want to double check. You guys see what I'm saying? So you pick your poison. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. So the homework, if you look at those worksheets, they're going to ask you percentile questions like that, you know. Anyway, good job. Now, here's the thing. There's some issues with percentiles because percentiles really stands for percent, and there's only 100%. So there's 100 kind of, you know, potential answers. You don't have 100 data values here, though, you know. So what's going to happen now is they're going to start to ask you the same kind of similar questions with data. They're going to want to know, hey, what value represents? It's kind of the same question. It's actually asking you backwards. What value represents the kth percentile? So they're asking that question backwards now. And I want you guys to focus on the words. What value, that's a number, represents what? The kth percentile. So I'm going to give you some notation. Okay? PK. This is P for percentile, K for that kth value. So this is defined to be the value they're talking about. That is the kth what? Percentile. That's what they're asking for. And that's what we're going to start to take a closer look at, because really, data with this kind of question is partitioned. into 100 groups. And those are the groups that they're called percentiles. So when we have any sort of data, we're going to have to go through a process, ladies and gentlemen, to find percentiles. Okay, you guys with me on that? We have to go through a process to even do that. That's what we're doing. So the way I show people this process of finding this number, the kth percentile, because we partition your data into 100 groups, I start by an example. Okay, so like for an example, they may say to you, remember that test score data that I have? Right, this test score data I have online, this data, we're gonna use that list. Okay, so they're gonna say, what is P10? So you're gonna have to know a couple of things here, right? What are they asking this question if they give you that P with a subscript 10? What is that known as? See, this value is what? This is my what? This is my K value, okay? K is 10. What's the meaning of P10? The 10th percentile. Okay, so I want you guys to know they're asking for the value that represents the what? The 10th percentile. So you're looking at the definition, its symbol. What value represents that 10th percentile for the test score data? So in order to find that number, we got to work backwards. Or I should say, we're going to use this procedure. Remember I said to you guys, what's the hardest part of statistics? Language and what? Process. Okay? So process is following a procedure. It's like a recipe. Where are the best cooks in the room? Who's a good cook? Anyone? Nobody's a good cook in the room? Am I the only one? Are you kidding me? Jeez. Oh my God. I'm the only one? Nobody here's a good cook? All right. You know what the deal is with cooking? You got to follow a what? A recipe. You got to follow your steps. You guys know what I'm saying? You got to follow a recipe. So I'm just going to give you a recipe. No big deal. If you're already a good cook, you say, okay, good. Step 1 is called determine the what? The locator. And I'll say locator value, okay? So that's your first step. You need to find that L. And you might say, Mr. Judge, is that why in that list you showed me there's an L there? Yeah. See that? In the list, there's already an L. So you guys see where I'm going with that? That's called the locator value. What's a locator value? It's where to locate, okay? However, the locator has a definition. L equals K over 100 times N. Okay? So L is K over 100 times N. What was in the test score data? What was N? How many data values are there? Outstanding. You guys remember there were 48 data values in that list? Right? You say, how do I know? Well, go all the way to the bottom there. 48 data values. It's in our list. Good. Okay. So we know that's going to be 48. Now, what is the value for K? In this example, K is what? 10. Good. So Al here, let's get Al now. My locator is going to be 10 over 100 times 48. It's really working backwards, but okay. All right. So 10 over 100 times 48. So I'm going to scroll out here. Let's clear this. 10 divided by 100. Close that times 48. Now, what does this equal? Right, so this equals what? 4.8. So far, so good? Now, what kind of number is this? Focus on this. This is an important detail. You see this little dot? What does that mean? That means your answer is a what? Decimal. I'm going to put that in red. You see, what's going to happen is you're either going to get a decimal answer or you're going to get a whole number. If the answer is a decimal, like here, here's what you guys do for Al. You're going to do what's called, you round up. Don't round off, round how? Up. Round up to the what? Rounding up is short for round up to the next whole number. What is that number? 5. So Al is what number? 5. This is your locator. All right, you guys okay with that? It's your locator. Now, you might say, how do I use this locator? Well, step 2 is your answer step. PK equals the alth data value in the sorted list. Okay, 2-step process. PK, well, in this example, they're asking for P what? P10. Okay, that's what we're saying. That the question, PK, will equal the what? Alth data value. What does Al stand for? Locator. What's Al in this example? 5. I got to look for the what? 5th data value in the what? Sorted list. So scroll in. What do you guys see? What's the 5th data value in the sorted list? Is it 15? Did you guys see that? The 5th data value in the sorted list is what? Ladies and gentlemen, you're done. That's what they're looking for. 15 is the 10th percentile value. Okay? So that number, 10% of the data is behind 15. We'll say the less than that 15. That's what this means here. Because you found P10. P10 is the what? The 10th percentile. 10% of the data is behind 15 in this sorted list. So if you say, where's 15? Right here, 10% of that data is behind it. Okay? So I want you guys to know this is a very big deal. You found something that's important. Okay? Easy breezy, lemon squeezy. All right. Let's give you guys another example. I'm going to ask you guys this question. Another example here. What am I asking if we put down P90? What does that mean? P90, they want to know what value represents the what? 90th percentile. So you're going to have to go through your what? What is this? You go through your recipe. Okay? Al equals, what's your first step? Got to find that locator. Al equals. Do you guys remember? What do I always say? What's the best way to memorize a formula? Every time you use it, write it down. What's the locator formula? K over 100 times N. Okay? So that means my locator will be 90 over 100. What's the sample size again? 48. Okay, good. So every time you use a formula, write it what? Down. Yeah, exactly. That's how we learn how to spell our name. You guys know? You guys know that? That's how you learn how to spell your name. So every time, just write it down. How many times did you have to, how many years did it take us to learn how to spell our name? It took us a long time. You started in what grade? Depends on the name, I guess. Alexander. Oh my God, that's a tough one. You got to be careful when you name your kids. Alexander. How long did it take Alexander to learn that? Probably a long time. Sam. Oh, probably Sam was a lot quicker because it's S-A-M in Alexander. If you guys know a little bit about that. Sometimes kids get really frustrated because of the name they were given. You guys know that? Anybody know what I'm talking about? You say, yeah, what's my name? You know what I mean? So 90 divided by 100, you close that times what? 48. Is that a decimal? That's a decimal. So I'm going to write this decimal down. The decimal is 43 point what? 2. Okay? Now, because this is a decimal, what do? Round to the next whole number. Don't round off. Don't approximate. Round up to the next whole number. You know how I think of rounding up? I think of money. If something costs you $43.20, how much money do you need, or how many dollars do you need to pay for it? How many? 44. You know, because 43.2 is between 43 and 44. Rounding up to the next whole number says go to the 44. All right? This is not rounding off. This is rounding how? Up. This is in our recipe, ladies. And you can't change your recipe. Sorry. Can't change your procedure. Okay? And you know what? If I were you, I would be so happy at this point. You want to know why you're happy? We can give the answer for P90. What's the answer? It's the 44th data value. You guys found the locator value. It's the 44th data value in the what? Sorted list. So I go to the sorted list. I got to go all the way down to what? 44. What is it? 140. Did you guys see that there? That's why they call it the locator. It just located. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's your answer. There you guys go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's a recipe. It's a recipe. Are you going to study the recipe the night before? Oh, no, I hope not. Anybody want to get in? You got a chili recipe? Going to go in a chili cook-off? You need a recipe? You're going to try it the night before? I wouldn't. P25. Okay. What do you think? What's this, by the way? This is the 90th percentile, so you guys know. Okay? So when they say to you, P25, what is that? That's the 20th percentile. They want to know what number represents, I'm sorry, the 25th percentile. What represents what? The 25th percentile. This is your K. So step one, my locator is K over 100 times N. And so I say L will be 25 over 100 times, what's N again? 48. You guys okay with that? Okay, good. So what do you think that's going to be? 25 divided by 100, close that, times what? 48. What does that give you? L is 12. Okay? You're going to have to write down that formula here. You're going to have to use that formula. So I want you guys to notice something here. 12, this is really not a decimal, is it? What kind of number is 12, by the way? Well, we're focusing on this number here. Yes, I'm going to say to you guys want to know this. 12, this is going to be what we call a what? A whole number. Whole numbers look like this: 0, 1, 2, 3. The 3 dots say continue the pattern forever. So 12 is on that list. 12 is in fact a whole what? Number. All of these are called whole numbers. They're not decimals. So like I said, you're going to either get a decimal or you're going to get a what? A whole number. What you do to get the answer is different. It's a different recipe, slightly different. So let me show you step 2, the answer step. Okay? So when you have a whole number, here's step 2. PK, this equals. This is a number midway between the Lth and L plus first data value in the sorted list. So this is going to have to take some explanation here. Okay? The L, you guys already know what L is. What's L? It's a locator. In this example, it was 12. Is that true? Is that okay? Now, what do you think L plus first means? That really means the what? The next value. Like if you are 25 today, how old will you be next year if you add 1 to your age? 26. If you're 18 today, how old will you be if you add 1 to your age? 19. If you're 21 today, how old will you be next year if you add 1? 22. So if L is what in this example? 12, and it is. If you're 12 today, how old will you be next year? 13. This, ladies and gentlemen, is like thinking you have 2 locators. Okay? So, we're going to give our answer. P25. You guys remember what midway between means? You have to add 2 numbers and then divide by 2. Is that true? Let me say that again. This is what? Midway between the 12th and the 13th data value in the sorted list. Midway. So go to the sorted list. Where's the 12th data value? What is it? 45. Good. What's the next 60. Do you guys see that there? You're looking for the 12th and the what? 13th data value in the sorted list. Oh, can we get any? 45 and what? 60. What's midway between 45 and 60? This is what I'm saying. You add them and you divide by what? 2. Because this is the midway. Okay, say that again. The 45 data value is number 12 on the sorted list. The next, which is 13, is 60. So the answer will be, parentheses, 45 plus 60, close that, and divide by what? 2. What is this answer? What is it? It's 52 point what? 5. So, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is what? 52.5. So this is the step 2 that you use when your locator is a what? Whole number. You got 2 situations. The easiest situation is when it's a decimal and your locator is rounded up. That's going to be how you locate the answer. If it's a whole number, well, you got to get that whole number plus the next one, the data value that's midway between those. And then that's that. See if you guys are awake. Just give you guys another quick example. P what? P75. Okay? Locator number 1. L is K over 100 times N, right? So 75 over 100 times 48. So let's see, what's this locator going to be? Right? Isn't this the K value? You guys okay with that? It's K. You guys plugged it in? Isn't sample size still 48? Okay, let's see what this is. 75 divided by 100, close that, times 48. You guys know what kind of number is 36? Oh, this is going to be what again? 36 is a what? It's a whole number. All right. So when it's a whole number, my answer is going to be midway between, this is P75. Midway between what 2 numbers? The 36? And what's the next one? 37th data value in the sorted list. So I got to go to the sorted list. 36 and 37th data values. What are they? 36 and the next one, 37th. What are they? 115. So I just want you guys to know. This one here is the what? The 36th data value right here. And this is the next one, 37th. Okay? So if you're 36 this year, how old will you be next year? 37. Midway between 115 and 115. Do you guys even have to use your calculator for this one? Say no. What's midway between the same number? Oh, you don't believe me? Okay. 115 plus 115. Add those, divide by 2. What do you end up with? 115. Sure enough, we're correct. So remember, you guys have a nice recipe here to use, and this is in relative position. So if I look at this statistics lecture number, what is that? 4. Notice it has the word percentile after Z values. So I'm going to say you guys can start to do, well, you can do up to 11 now. But if you want to look further, you watch that video and you can start to do some more. Not, sorry. Let me go back. Anyway, I'll fix this.
Yeah, I heard you, like the website is kind of like giving me an error when I went to those things. Those things are dead.
Okay, I'll double check that. Okay, so you're gonna go now to, you see this number 9, 10, and 11. We're gonna go do that, and we'll see you guys when tomorrow. Okay, take care and stay safe. Yeah, it'd be nice to hear me. Okay, we're going to warm up since we're looking for, percentiles with test score data. We followed a procedure. We're going to warm up this morning and have you guys find P50, P40, P60, and P18. And we're going to have you look at the group data. So we'll give you guys some time and we'll see how that goes, okay? So let's get out the clock. Where are you, clock? And let's get these here going. Okay, we'll try to scroll in. All right, so did anybody get any answers for these here? What'd you guys get for P50, by the way? You got 90? Okay, I'm going to say you guys got 90 for this answer right in here. Is that right? What'd you get for P40? Huh? 20? Anybody else? What'd you get for P40? Okay. What'd you get for P60? What'd you get for P18? Okay, let's verify this, ladies and gentlemen, because is this going to be on your next test? Yes. So when should you get started on your homework? Yesterday. Okay, so for P50, the first one, remember, you have to go with your recipe. So you say, what's your recipe? Well, step one, you need the locator. And if you have trouble with the definition or the formula, really, you should do what? Write it down every time you use it. 50 goes here, is that right? So 50 over 100. What's the sample size from yesterday? That's 48, and I'm going to keep it blue. All righty, 48, good. So you know what 50 over 100 times 48 is by any chance? Yeah, it's going to be 24. So let's clear this out. We'll put it in 50 divided by 100 times what number? 48. And sure enough, yes, you get what? 24. So here's what you guys want to remember. Is this a decimal or is this a whole number? A whole number. Good. When it's a nice whole number, how do we get your answer? Step 2 is the answer step. Right? So how do you get the answer now? You're going to say what? P50 is midway between the what? The 24th and the what? 25th data value in the sorted list. So if you remember what I was doing is I was showing you guys this. What's the 24th data value? 90? Okay. What's the 25th? The next one. 90. Okay. So when it's a whole number, you need the 24th and the next one. Is that right? So this is what I'm saying here. You guys need those two. Okay. So what is midway between 90 and 90? Anybody know? 90. Good job. So ladies and gentlemen, what did you just find? The 50th percentile. Okay? That's the procedure. So you guys were correct. It was 90. Now, what does that actually mean? Do you guys remember what this means by definition? What does it really mean? Anybody know? What does that mean? It's not just finding a number. You got to know what it means because you got to use it. What's the meaning of P50? Yes. 50% of the data is less than what? 90. Half the data is less than what? 90. That's the meaning of what you're doing. That's important. All right. So what's the next one going to be now, ladies and gentlemen? These are percentiles, right? P40. We're going to do this again now. Okay. So your locator is going to be K over 100 times N. Every time you use your formula, write it down. K is 40. 100 times 48. Let's see what we get for the locator. Okay. So again, you're going to put what? 40 divided by 100 times 48. What's that going to give you? 19 point what? 19.2, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what do you think I'm going to say here? This is a what? Decimal. Good. When it's a decimal, what do? You round up to the next whole number. What's the next whole number after 19? There you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is your what? Locator. You guys okay with that? So you're going to have to go to what data value now? 20. Okay, what do you guys see there? What's in the 20th position? 85. That means your answer is what? 85, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, 40% of the data is what? Is less than 85. That's what that means, okay? So it's not just, hey, get some numbers here. You want to know what that means? 40% of that data is less than 85. All right. Was that what you guys told me? No. Okay, so if the test was today, let's see if you guys were right with P60. Let's try the procedure now with what? P60. Here we go. Al's going to be K over 100 times N. Okay. So 60 over 100 times what number? Times 48. Okay, I apologize. Okay. Let's see what that is going to be. 60 divided by 100 times 48. And what is this? 28.8? Is that true? Okay. What are you looking at? This is a what? Decimal. What do you do when it's a decimal? You round how? Up to the next whole number. What's the next whole number? 29. So you're going to have to look for now the 29th what? Data value in the sorted list. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So what is the 29th data value in the sorted list? Do you guys know? What is it? Is it 100? Do you guys see that there? All righty. So, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, P60 is 100. So, what does that mean again? 60% of the data is what? Is less than 100. Okay. So were you guys correct on that one? Yes. Good job. So you had the 90, you got the 100. Good. Now we got to do P18. Is that true? P18. So let's go through the procedure. K over what? 100 times N. So Al's going to be 18 over 100 times 48. Is that true? Okay, 18 divided by 100, close that, times 48. What do you guys end up with? This is 8 point what? 8.64? Is that what you guys see? Okay. So what does this mean? What are you looking at? What do you do with that? You round how? Up to the next whole what? So you just have to look for now what data value in the sorted list. You just have to look for the what? The 9th data value in the sorted list. What is the 9th data value? What is it? Did you guys see it there? So this is equal to what? 35. Now, what does this mean again? 18% of the data is less than what? 35, okay? So what you guys have found is percentiles, and that's important. Okay, you guys okay with that? That's a big deal. That's important. So this is how we find percentiles. Now, we have another system, so don't panic. We're going to talk about, today, we're really going to talk about quartiles and deciles. But you already really know what they are, okay? Quartiles and what? Deciles. So that's what we want to talk about today. But what I'm going to say to you guys, quartiles, when you're working with what's called quartiles, that's when you partition data into 4 groups. Okay? Quartiles are when you partition data into how many groups? 4 groups. When you think of quartiles, think of the word what? Quarters. Good. That's what I do. So this is simple for me because I say, percentiles is when you partition your data into what? 100 groups. You guys see what I'm saying? P1, P2, P3, all the way to P99. That really partitions your data into 100 groups. But you're going to partition your data now into quartiles. That means quarters. So let me give you guys the definition of what's called the first quartile. Okay? We put Q1. You know what that is? 1/4 has 25 what? Pennies. So if you know, ladies and gentlemen, if you know how many pennies are in a quarter, how many pennies are in a quarter? Then you know what a quartile is. That's your first quartile. It's P25. See what I mean? I told you already know. Money helps your accuracy with arithmetic and mathematics tremendously. Okay? Another definition. We have the what? Second quartile. Okay. This is Q2. In 2/4, how many pennies do you have? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the what? Second quartile. It's the 50th what? Percentile. This is a definition. This is how you define it. Okay? You don't question definitions. You guys know that? It's like if I said, "Hey, what's your name?" You said Sally. I said, "No, you look more like Nancy." I can't change your name. I can't change the label you were given. This is a third what? Third quartile. This is Q what? 3. And what does that equal? How many quarters do you have when there's 3? I'm sorry. How many pennies do you have with 3/4? How many? So this is the definition of all these things. These are what we call quartiles, okay? And you're partitioning your data into now what? 4 groups. You say, what do you mean? Yeah. Let me see. Let me draw a picture. So, you have a real number line, by the way. And right in the middle, you got Q2. To the left, you have Q1. And to the right, you have Q what? 3. So here's my point to you. Okay? This is how you partition data. There's how many groups here? You may not believe it, but there's 1. What else? 2. What else? 3. What else? 4 groups. So 3 numbers gives you 4 groups. You're partitioning your data really into what we call quartiles. Now, don't forget the definition. In the middle here, this is P what? P50. What is the first quartile? P25. What's the third one? P75. So 25% of the data is here. 25% of the data is here. 25% of the data is here. 25% of the data is there. This is what we mean by quarters, okay, using those definitions. So, for example, remember the test score data? All those examples we worked with? I claim you guys know all the quartile values. I make that claim. You guys know the quartile values. So go back and let's see if you guys remember any of these here. What did we just find here? What's P50? Is that 90? I'm going to copy that. So what do you guys think for the test score data? What is that? Q2. So you have what? The second quartile. It's 90, ladies and gentlemen. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Do you have the first quartile value in your notes anywhere? Check your notes. Oh, what's this? You had P75, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to copy that. Why do I care about P75? It's the third quartile. Outstanding. Look at that. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, don't panic because you already know these values. Do you guys have the first quartile? Where is it? What's P25? Oh, there we go. Isn't it in your notes? Say yes. Look at that. I already knew what to ask you. I was really secretly asking you not just percentiles, but also what? These quartiles. Okay, you guys okay with that? So what I want to remark and say to you guys is a few things here. If you were to plot this on the real number line, because remember this is 4 groups, 52.5, 90, 115, okay? Q1, Q2, Q3. You partitioned your data into how many groups? 4 groups. And that was the test score data. Okay? 25% of the data is where? To the left of 52.5. And 50% is to the left of Q2. But I want to say between these two, you have what again? 25% of the data. Does that make any sense? Okay. What about between Q2 and Q3? You have what again? 25%. And then what? 25% here. This is partitioning your data into what we call what? Quartiles or quartile value. A very, very important system because it's people, because the 25, 25, 25 situation. Okay, easier to read, I guess. Easier to think about. Okay, now I'm going to give you guys some definitions here. So you're going to care about these definitions here. So once you have quartiles, we have something called the interquartile range. And it's abbreviated IQR because it's interquartile range. That is equal to Q3 minus Q1. Okay? So, for example, with the data, test score data, right? This test score data, the sheet we have, what would the interquartile range be here? You take what? 115 and you subtract 52.5. Your interquartile range, you're using your definition here. So what do you get? What do you get when you do that? 115 minus 52 point what? 5. What do you guys end up getting? What's the interquartile range? Is that 62.5? All right, definitions. You guys want to write down your definitions because they can ask you these questions, right? Another definition. The mid quartile range. Okay? And that's abbreviated MQR. Okay? And that's really the midpoint of the quartiles. You know, midpoint for quartiles. So if you add Q1 and Q3, divide by 2, you're going to get the mid quartile range. So you say, what's Q1? Well, it's 52.5. Is that right? You say, how do I know? Because we plotted this here. So we're going to take the what? 52.5. We're going to add it with 115. We're going to divide by 2. Let's find the mid-quartile range. Oops. I like to use a parenthesis, sorry. 52.5 plus 115 in parentheses divided by 2. Think of like midpoint here. And what do you guys end up getting when you find that mid-quartile range? What's this going to be? Yeah, don't approximate it. It's 83 point what? 75 here. Okay? Interquartile range, the mid-quartile range. And these are used to just help describe the distribution. We'll see that later. Definition of the semi-quartile range. And the semi-quartile range, we abbreviate that SQR. Well, that's half of the mid-quartile range. So if I know the mid-quartile range, well, then I take that number 83.75 and I divide by what? By 2. So you get this 83.75 divided by what? 2. And what do you got? 41.86. All for these quartiles, ladies and gentlemen, these definitions. And then a couple more, that's all. Definition. They call this the P90, P10 range. What do you think that is? The P90, P10 range, ladies and gentlemen, is when you actually subtract P90 and P10. So do you guys have P90 by any chance? Say yes. Do you guys have P10? Say yes. Okay, what are they? We got to look from in our notes where it's P90. Ooh. P90, P10. Look at that. We got all the way back to, there we go. There's P90. What's P90? Okay, so we're going to use that number, 140. And what was P10, by the way? Is that 15? All right, 15. What's 140 minus 15? Well, we'll see. 140 minus 15, what do we got? 125. Is that right? Okay. All right. Okay, another definition of the 5-number summary. Okay? The 5-number summary. This is a definition. Does anybody happen to know what that definition is? Okay, there's 5 numbers. So for every data, the minimum value, Q1, Q2, Q3, and the maximum value. Okay? So min, and I guess I was using orange for the quartiles, so I'll stick with that. Let's bring out pink, pretty in pink. What do you guys think? Okay, we'll use pink for the minimum, Q1, Q2, Q3, and max. Okay? So, for example, the test score data, can you guys give me the 5-number summary? For test score data, give me the 5-number summary. What do you think that is? What's the minimum going to be? 5-number summary. This is test score data. Do you guys know what the minimum value is for the test score data? Go back to the list. What is it? 0. What's the maximum value? 150? Okay. Did you find any quartiles for that test score data? What were they? What are your quartiles? Aren't they still here? 52.5. What else? 90. What else? 115. So you're going to write down what? 52.5, 90, 115. So let me get out our colors so you guys can see that. Pretty in pink, orange, and then green. What is this called? The 5-number what? Summary. Nice. Okay. I'm going to give you guys an example here. You're going to like this here. Did I explain? Did we talk about lifespans, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, did I mention lifespan to you guys, or was it the other class? All right. Do you guys know what a lifespan is by any chance? A lifespan is really the age, well, if you're talking about the lifespan of a human being, it's the age of that human being when they die. Okay? So in order to gather data for lifespans, how long you live, you have to what? Die. Does that make sense? Okay. So believe it or not, every state has a lifespan for its population. And it's different. It's not the same. You think it's the same. It's not. So some states are better than others in terms of the lifespan. You'll live longer, really depending on the state you live in. Is that insane? Do you guys know what's the worst state to live in terms of lifespan? Well, you got to first of all know what a state is. So what's the worst state to live in, do you guys know, in terms of lifespan? You may not know. I think I have it somewhere in my notes, and I don't want to dig it up because there's a website I got some data from. I thought that was interesting. I think it's, no, it's in the South. I think it's Alabama. It's Alabama, I believe. I think what typically happens is both Mississippi and Alabama compete for the worst lifespan in the U.S. So you might say, why? What's so special about Alabama and Mississippi? Well, they're in the South, and what's the deal about that region? Probably some of the best food you can have in your life. You guys know what I mean? Okay, but it impacts your what? Lifespan. All right. What's one of the best states to live in terms of lifespan? Hawaii. Okay? So just to kind of let you guys know, human beings have a lifespan. Even different ethnic groups have a lifespan. And it's not the same. So depending on the ethnic group you live in, you might have a different lifespan. Okay? You say, what is that? Well, it's the length of time you'll live. What else? Different countries in the world. It has to be a different country. Some countries have a very high lifespan. In particular, I'm thinking, Japan, but not really. There's a region in Japan. Anybody know what that region is? It's Okinawa. Okinawans live pretty long, okay? They're the winners of the world in terms of lifespan. And then people study Okinawans. You say, why do they live so long? Well, there's factors, there's reasons. It's the food they eat. Their culture is a factor, believe it or not. They're very active. They're very supportive of one another, very communal living. That's why I say culture is a factor. What they eat. The Japanese sweet potato is a very healthy thing to eat. That's the yam, the purple one. That's very healthy for them. That's their staple. They eat that every day. It's delicious, ladies and gentlemen. If you've never had it, I love it. And then probably genetics. Probably also lack of pollution, all those little details. So they all add up. So anyway, here's an example of lifespan. I'm going to gather some data. And this is in the U.S. 85, 70, 72, 65, 61, 38, 94, okay, 92, 68, 78, 70, 65, 98, and then 100 here. Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to ask you guys to do. I'm going to say determine the 5 number what? Summary. If you're going to do that, what do you think you have to do? You're going to have to know the definition. Do you guys know the definition of the 5 number summary? Say yes. What is it? Minimum. Q1, Q2, and Q3. And then what? So you're going to have to use the definition to get the 5 number summary. This is kind of like what you'd have to do on your homework. All right. You guys okay with that? All right. Are you guys ready? Let me share with you guys something interesting. This is going to be easy. Did you guys bring your calculator today? Oh, good. All right. I'm going to say to you guys, enter this data. How do you enter data in L1? You go to Stat, Edit. Oh, we're going to have to clear this out. Clear. Let's enter all of this data. Let's enter the what? The lifespan data. This is your data, okay? So, all right, we're going to enter what? 85, we hit enter. 70, we hit what? Enter. What's the next data value? 72, 65, 61. You guys okay with that one? 38. What else? 94, 92, 68. Oops, not 4. 78. Is that right? 70, 65, 98, followed by the number what? 100. Okay? So did you guys enter this data by any chance into OW1? Okay? You guys with me? Now, you say, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to say to you guys, go to stat again, but this time go to calculate. Remember when I asked you guys how to get the mean, variance, and standard deviation? Do you guys remember that? That was on test 1. It's going to be on test 2. You're going to hit calculate one variable stats. Yes, for OW1. So you're going to have that again, but I'm going to challenge you guys to take a closer look. A real close look. Does anybody see? I'm going to scroll down. Anything very interesting here? What's so interesting about what you guys see here? I know. Let me get out my colors. You guys can't see what I'm doing here, but Pretty in Pink. Do you guys like that movie, Pretty in Pink? Good. Nobody likes that movie, Pretty in Pink? Who likes Pretty in Pink? You guys probably don't even know what that is. Good. What's the minimum value? Does that calculator give me a minimum? Say yes. What's the minimum? 38? Do you guys see the 38 there? Okay, what's below 38? Q1. What do you think that stands for? First quartile. And then what is that med again? That's the median value? Ladies and gentlemen, you guys know the median value is also the second quartile? So the second quartile is what? 71. And then what do you guys see? The third quartile is what? 92. And then the max is what? 100. Oh my God. Jesus. So I'm going to bring it pretty in pink. I'm going to bring out all your colors even. Hopefully you can see that better. What did you guys just find, by the way? The 5-number what? Summary. Okay, we're going to get to use this information too. Not today, but you get the 5-number summary. What do you guys think? Easy peasy lemon squeezy? Are you going to get to learn and know your calculator? You guys know what I'm saying? So what did I always say? What's the hardest part of statistics? Don't tell me it's the math, because you get to use a calculator. It's language and what? Process. Oh, man. 5-number summary, ladies and gentlemen. What's your interquartile range? 92 minus 65. What's your mid-quartile range, ladies and gentlemen? 92 plus 65 divided by 2. What's the semi-quartile range? Well, we need to know what? The mid-quartile range first. So let's go to our calculator. I'm going to say, calculator, get out of this fancy mode, even though we got impressed. We got other work to do. So, you quit, and then you say, okay, 92 minus 65. What do you guys get? It's 27. Good. Now do the what? 92 plus 65. And actually do that if you can in parentheses, right? 92 plus 65 or 65 plus 92 divided by 2. It's like the midpoint of the quartiles. And what do you get? 78.5. Don't forget to take the 78.5 and divide by 2 to get the semi-quartile range. And that's going to be 39 point what? 25. Okay? So we can do some analysis if they ask us for these things. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. This is how we use the definitions, entering the data, get the 5-number summary. You get to answer these questions. Okay? You guys okay with that? All right. Let me also mention something to you. We also said, and it's very easy, this is just something called what? Deciles. We don't have much in the terms of deciles. That's when you partition your data into a group of 10. Think of what? Partition data into what? Groups of what? 10. Okay? And then you say, well, what do you mean? Think of, what's the word? Dimes. Dimes, ladies and gentlemen. So, by definition, you have something called D1. You guys know what that's really known as? That's the first decile. So, maybe you want the words as well. They say the first what? Decile. How many pennies are in one dime? So the definition is P10, ladies and gentlemen. It's the number of pennies in a dime, okay? How many pennies are in 2 dimes? 20. What do you think we call this? The second what? Decile. And in fact, you could go all the way down to what? You got D3, D4, D5. How many pennies are in each? P30, P40, P50. Go down to what? D6, D7, D8, D9. There is no D10. But if you can find percentiles, then you can find what? Deciles. How many pennies are in 9 dimes? 90. Okay? So yesterday, we worked on everything on the right. Is that right? You guys know what I'm saying? So if I went back to everything we worked on yesterday, I already know some of these values. What do I know? What is P60? That's D6, ladies and gentlemen. So D6 is what number? 100. If you can find percentiles, you can find what? Deciles. P40, what is this? What is this, ladies and gentlemen? D4 is what? 85. If you can find percentiles, you can find deciles, D4. D5 is really what? This is P50 is D5. So I was already sneaking in these questions. This is not, P75 is not a decile. Do we have anywhere? Oh, look at that. Do we have another decile? We sure do. D9 is what? 140. P10, what's this? D1 by definition is P10, so D1 is what? 15. So we got the first decile is 15 here. This is for the test score data. So ladies and gentlemen, I was sneaking in yesterday, really asking you very specific questions about percentiles because I knew today I'll give you the definition of deciles and what? And quartiles. Okay, so I snuck it in like vegetables. If you have kids, sometimes you know you have to do some what? Some sneaking in of the vegetables. Now, let's go back to the lifespan data. Let's check to see if you guys can do this. Okay, I'm going to say to you guys, determine for the lifespan data. Why don't you determine D2? And we'll give you guys another one, maybe D7, just for fun. Okay? Couple of them. Where do you guys think you start? What's the definition of D2? Good. If you're going to ask somebody, get the second decile, guess what you have to do? You got to know percentiles. And so now this is a percentile question. Okay, how do you guys answer percentile questions? What's the locator? 20 over 100 times, what's the sample size? Is it 48? No. How many data values are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. What? 14. You guys okay with that? Is that true? Okay. So let's find out what that is. So be careful. 20 divided by 100. This is homework questions. Times 14. What is this? Anybody want to tell me? Yes, what does L equal? L, ladies and gentlemen, is 2.8. What do we know about 2.8? It's a what? Is that a decimal? What do you do when it's a decimal? You round up to the next whole number. This is now what? 3. Is that right? So does anybody know, what do I need to do now if I know the locator value? What do I have to do? We talked about this yesterday. You got to look at your sorted data. What's the problem? Your data's not sorted. Yes. When are you going to get to your homework? The night before a test? What do you do the night before? You actually sleep, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to break the news to you. All right, you're going to go where? You're going to sort your data. Is that right? Stat? What are you going to go down to? Sort. And what are you sorting? L1. So you hit second one, close it. And guess what? You just sorted. So what do you guys do now? You got to go back to the list because now it's sorted. How do I get to the list? Stat, edit, edit. And now take a very close look. I've sorted my data. Is that right? What's the locator number? So what do? Go down to what? 3. Is that true? So, ladies and gentlemen, what does this tell me? 65. In other words, D2 is what? 65. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, we did this yesterday and today. That's what you have to do. In fact, we also have to do D7. Is that right? Okay. So what would you do for D7 now? L is what? Or no, I'm sorry, we got to do D7. How do you start again? What's the definition? D7 is P what? P70. Good. We need a locator. 70 over 100 times. What's the sample size again? 14. We'll see what L is. Okay. Scroll out. 70 divided by 100 times what? 14. What do you guys get? What is this? This is a what again? Is that number 9.8 a decimal? Say yes. What do you do when it's a decimal? Round up to the next what? Whole number. What is that going to be? Is that going to be 10? Outstanding, ladies and gentlemen. Did I already sort my data? I did, didn't I? What do I have to do? Go to Stat, Edit. And what do I scroll down now to? Number 10? Is that right? So what's the 10th data value in the sorted list? What is it? So what is the answer to D2? Or sorry, not D2, D7. What's the answer to D7? It equals what? 85. What do you guys think? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy? Should we give you another one? How about D? Should we do D4 and D9? Let's do D4 and D9. Okay. We need the definition of D4. What's the definition of D4? It's the 40th what? Percentile. So my locator will be 40 over 100. What's the sample size? 14. Okay. $40 divided by 100 times what number? 14. What do you guys get? What do you guys know about 5.6? Is that a decimal? Okay, what do you do when it's a decimal? Round up to the next whole number. So what do I have to look for now? The 6th data value in the sorted list. This is going to give me D4. My list is already sorted. How do I get to it? Stat, edit. And then scroll down to what number? Scroll down to 6. And what do you guys get? It is 70. Oh my gosh. What's next? D9? Okay. What's the definition of D9? It's P what? P90. What's my locator? 90 over 100 times what's the sample size again? 14. Ladies and gentlemen, is that true? Okay. 90 divided by what number? 100. Close that. Times what? What does this equal? The locator is 12.6. What do I know about this number? It's a what? What do you do when it's a decimal? Round up to the next whole number. What does L stand for? It's your locator. What does the locator do? It locates your what? Your answer. Is that right? So D9 is the 13th data value in the what? Sorted list. How do we get to that list? Stat, edit, what? Edit. We got to go down to what number? 13. Okay, what is number 13? Is that 98? So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you guys think? Are you better able, because if I go back here to the website, and I got to scroll out. Remember this, we're going to this website here, and this is relative position. So, notice this. Statistics Lecture 4, this worksheet is about everything we've been talking about. Q3, P85, P56. They give you data. You guys know what I mean? Find Q1, find Q3. You know, I might even make another worksheet, by the way. I got to figure out, maybe I already have. It might even be there. But my point is, you should be able to do them what? All now. Not just 1 through blah, 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 blah. You should be able to do what?